about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for.
Hello friends, and welcome to a new vlog. You can literally see Vane up there just chilling, just doing her thing. Just cat things, honestly, but welcome to a new vlog. I don't know that I'm gonna be vlogging for an entire week. It could just be a few days. It could be the week. I don't want to proclaim anything that's untrue, and I also don't want to set myself up for failure because I start vlogging and then things just kind of wane energy-wise the more the week goes on. So we'll see if this actually ends up being a weekly vlog. I'd be impressed with myself, okay? Claps to me if I actually ended up uploading a weekly vlog, because that would be honestly a universe sent, a God-sent miracle. But the next week ahead is going to be a super interesting, busy, productive one. So first things first, today I want to do some meal prepping. I got my groceries in yesterday and I have some ground meat I need to cook up and just leave on the fridge for like salads and bowls and stuff. And then also chicken for the same purposes. Also need to cut some chicken, put that on the freezer. I need to organize my entire like fridge, freezer area, also the pantry, also the cabinets here just like beneath me. They're a mess. I've just made a mess out of the kitchen because, you know, you kind of grab things and then you toss them back to their spot. And so every few weeks I just take the time to reorganize everything. This week is one of them. So I do want to get that done today so that I can further start the week. Today's Tuesday, by the way, for context. I really want to start out the week good with my kitchen organized and with things meal prepped. And then other things that are happening this week, I have live shows for Patreon as per usual. And then I am embarking on my preptober journey to participate in NaNoWriMo this year. I don't know that I'm actually going to be like signing up to Nano, but like mentally I'm doing Nano. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like the idea of like signing up to it is like quite intimidating, but setting kind of like the same goals and like parameters for myself outside of NaNoWriMo is also kind of good. And then one of my closest friends is also doing Nano this year, and she actually, please hold, she actually brought this over yesterday because she finished her very first manuscript, and so she's going to be working on other projects during Nano, but she did bring this over because she wants me to beta read this and just make notes and all the good stuff. And so I am officially a chapter in, and I do have some tabs in, so this is going to be an experience. It's also a chonker. It's so big, but I am very excited to kind of spend some time this week just beta reading this and having fun with the book. And so part of this week will be dedicated to beta reading this, and then the other part is preptober, and then filming and editing, and also reading. I'm currently reading Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. Started that during my 24-hour readathon vlog. Have not read anything since, and so I need to get back into the groove of listening to the audio so that I can have that done by Saturday, and I am quite enjoying it, so we'll see kind of where it goes the more I read. And I also just randomly started a rewatch of Revenge. I used to love this show back in the day, and now that I'm rewatching it and I just finished reading the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey, I realized just how similar Lana and her sidekick are to Emily or Amanda in Revenge, with Nolan, who is also her sidekick. The similarities in plot and dynamics are quite astounding, not gonna lie, but I think that's why I enjoyed the Mindfuck series so much, is because it reminded me of something that I had kind of lost memory of. And so it's been a good time rewatching that as well. I'm like 4 episodes in, so not too much. But yes, that's kind of where we're at today, and this week in general is just a little bit of everything productivity. So I'll bring you guys with me. I'm excited to bring you guys with me. I have groceries still to put away because yesterday, because the groceries got here while I was in a live show, I just put away all of the cold stuff. And I do think it worked in my favor because it'd be good for me to get done all of the organizing before I even start cooking. So let us get all of that done, friends. Let us get started with organizing the kitchen, and we'll see where we go from there. And I'll just pop on Family Lore while I organize everything, and that way we can knock out a bit of our current audio. Let's go. I also just love that I didn't give you guys any context for what NaNoWriMo or Preptober is, in case you guys don't know. know. So as I pull things out from my pantry that I do need to get organized, let me tell you a bit more about what NaNoWriMo and Preptober is. So for those of you who are not familiar, NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month, which is basically a challenge that happens every November. So it's a recurring thing every year where writers or potential writers are challenged to crank out a book in a month. So you're challenged to write at least a 50,000 word novel in November. And the reason why October is called Preptober is because ideally you would like to only draft and only write in November and not necessarily spend so much time with outlining and plotting in case you are a plotter. And so October is used as a month to outline, plot, do some character work, and just kind of get yourself in the flow, get yourself in the mood, get yourself into the routine of writing every day without cranking out words for the story itself, but rather the planning stages. And so it's happening this year. I am doing Preptober and I'm actually doing quite good. Sunday, I wrote down 3,000 words of character work and just ideas and outlining that I want to obviously keep in mind when I do start writing in November. And then yesterday I cranked out another 1,000 words, and then today at some point I do want to sit down and then crank out some more because I'm almost done with the love interest's character profile, which is quite exciting. So I am quite excited to sit down today and then just look at some more of that. And obviously there's still a long ways to go because there's like research to get done, and I'm just quite excited about it. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Buenas, Carista's here. You wanna say hi?
Hello.
So we're about to head out to a little coffee shop. I'm literally bringing 2 books with me. I don't know why, and your book too. And I'm ready for my chai latte. More booty on screen.
I'm so ready for a chai latte. I'm so ready.
Hey, yo, too much booty on camera.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at these beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car.
Okay friends, welcome to a vlog that happens, apparently the intro of it, exclusively in my kitchen. However, we just got back from the cafe. It was a really productive time actually, and I hadn't been there in like a while, but I drank my chai lattes, I had a burgers, and it was really good. I did read Mort while I was there by Terry Pratchett. So this is in my October TBR. Look at her making progress with her October TBR. This is in my October TBR, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I had no idea really about what this book was about, but it's set in the disc world, where apparently this world is not only a flat earth riding on 4 elephants on top of a ginormous turtle. So it's a great visual to have. And basically our main character, Mort, is approached by Death at like this little, I guess, festival we can call it. It was like a job fair, and he gets the opportunity to become Death's apprentice, which is something that's really rare. It typically doesn't happen. And so even the people in Death's life, within his like inner circle that do help around, even they are surprised at the fact that he has enlisted an apprentice. And we kind of go from there. Quite funny to see their interactions and like their banter, because Death has a very short a very short patience span, and so he gets annoyed quite quickly, and Mort is fascinated by like very random things, and he's always got questions about anything, which is I think also why Death kind of likes him. He appreciates the fact that he's curious and he does want to learn, which seemingly is what he's looking for, but because of Mort asking so many questions, Death is like, get on with it, like come on. Seeing Death be so excited about like the most small of things as well, with like, oh, I'm about to murder some curry, like I'm really craving some curry right about now. It's like, it's such nonsense that you typically wouldn't associate with a figure such as Death, but Terry Pratchett just makes it work. It's like, it's quite fascinating and quite dynamic, and I appreciate every single second of it. Like it's quite a fun and entertaining read, and at times it's like very no thoughts had empty while still building the world so well, so that you understand kind of the machinations of the Discworld, and in particular Death's role into the Discworld, because it's not obviously that he is killing people, but when people die, it is his job to step in to make sure that they actually die. It is really well fleshed out while still being very comedic, but not sacrificing one for the other, which I really do appreciate. And now that we're back, I need to tend to some work stuff. First of all, some emails, and I also need to start boiling my beans. Please hold my little beans that have been soaking the entire time. Look at them, they look so beautiful. Anyways, let's put these on a boil, and then let's go answer some emails that need to be handled. Very exciting stuff. Oh, and I also did read Carissa's manuscript, but I can't share much on that, but I did read some more of it. I read 3 chapters and I made some notes, and it's great, and I love this process. I love being a beta reader. It's a great time. So we have got some black beans cooking right here, and then we have got some ground meat with onion, red bell pepper, and all of its little seasonings right there. We got all of the trusty little containers on that side. I'm going to wait until the meat is done so that I can start meal prepping some chicken, but technically these are like the 3 biggest things I'm doing, and then I also need to prep some salad dressing. So we'll see how we end the night later on. Okay friends, it's been a few hours now since the meal prepping process started, and we have got black beans almost done. Like there's a few that just need a little bit more time, but it's almost done. And then over here we have got, let me show you, like Carissa called it, my jar of chicken. We have got a container full, well it says lentils, please ignore that. And then we have got ground meat with veggies, and we have got a salad dressing for the week. And so things are done, and I'm also cooking some mac and cheese for dinner. So going to plate that up, and the fruit of the hard labor of the day.
I get a little bit breathless, my thoughts are too big. Can I get some comfort, please? I guess I should have been honest.
Good night, friends. Hello. So we are in the office, and today was a really slow day. Like I did some Patreon things, and I read a little bit more, actually have it right here, of Carissa's manuscript. So I got to page please hold 51. Some more notes were taken. And as far as reading goes, that is really like the only reading I've done. I read like 2 chapters of that this morning. And then I went to the gym, did the thing. And now we have got some Starbies. Got myself a nice little warm chai latte with some oat milk as things call for, because I was all in for the cozy vibes tonight and I just needed something warm because one, I am about to film my September wrap up. I have got all of the books, oh my god, that I read in September right here. So I need to film my little wrap up moment, which is going to come out before this video. So I'm going to be talking about all of these books plus volumes 1 and 2 of Sweat and Soap, which I technically didn't read in September. Same with Solo Leveling. Didn't read this in September, but I forgot to include those in like my recent reads wrap up for last month, even though I read them in August. So don't know what happened with my brain there, but I am talking about all of those books in that video. And then I need to continue doing some Preptober stuff for my novel, which is quite exciting. I had the idea suddenly earlier today for a prologue, which I was not planning on having a prologue for this book, especially because every single time I have attempted to draft something, I always get stuck at trying to make the prologue something perfect. And I kind of set myself up in a way that this time around I'd start in chapter 1, and then this morning I just had an idea for a prologue, and so I sat down and I wrote a 500-word prologue. It's like very bare bones, but just to get an idea of what I want for it, I just wrote down kind of like the skeleton for it. And then I completed my character profile for the love interest, and I now have to move on to the main character and then work on some other like research pieces and character studies and whatnot, which is going to be exciting. Just thought I'd give you a nice little update with like how the day's been. It's honestly been chill and I haven't been wanting to do much today, like not even read. And so the mood hasn't been like fully great, but I'm hoping to turn it back around this lovely, lovely night. And so I'm gonna go now and film my September wrap up. And once that is filmed, then I'll scoot right back to you guys. So it'll be a second for you. It'll be like an hour for me, but I'll see you then. Okay, friends, video has been filmed. Very exciting stuff. Now I want to sit down, do a little bit of Preptober. I'm gonna give myself, it's about to be 8:30. I'm gonna give myself 30 minutes to work on Preptober stuff and kind of wrap up on the things I was working on earlier. And then we're gonna sit down and read Mort because I have been really enjoying Mort and I want to get more into it because tomorrow is going to be family lore day because I need to have it done by Saturday. Let's get on with Preptober stuff and we'll see where the night takes us. The night is young.
Maybe I never knew what I really wanted, but looking back I can see it's all clear. I'm still a kid trying to act like they all taught me, but nothing makes sense anymore.
It is Thursday, friends. Good morning. I woke up 3 hours ago and I've been doing, oh my god, I just knocked on that microphone. And I've been doing laundry since I woke up and also editing. So tomorrow's video, which is the September wrap up I filmed yesterday, is fully edited. So it's got 38 minutes to go. I also need to go to the gym. And so while I go and come back, the video should be done so that I can make the little thumbnail, upload that, and then put early access up on Patreon. So all things this morning are going well. I've just loaded another load, redundant, I know, but I just put in some more clothes in the washer and the dryer, so that should also be done by the time that I'm back. It's also, for context, 9:13. I don't know if you can see that. So it's, you know, it's early. I've been going at it for 3 hours and now I get a little bit of gym time. My hair also, I braided it last night and it looks quite nice, which is why I'm very sad to put it up because of the gym going, but some things just, you know, just happen that way. And I also read a bit of Mort last night. I think I read like 10 to 12 pages of Mort, and this is just, it's everything. I'm curious to see if by the end of this book, Mort is going to become the new Death. I also love that his name is Mort because it just means death as well, so it's a nice little play into words, but I'm curious to see what's going to happen at the end of this one. If Death is going to retire and Mort is going to step up, or if all of the other Death Discworld books are going to follow Mort and Death as like a duo companion. Quite interested to see how that goes down, but I do think I'm going to carry on with this series. And if you guys have like any other suggestions within the Discworld of things I can potentially read, do let a girl know, because I'm really, really loving Mort. Like, it's so good, and as a first Terry Pratchett experience, I think it's amazing. A freshly showered girl is here, and did I sit and rot for over 4 hours while listening to family lore and diamond painting? Yes, I did. And I just took a shower. It's literally 10 p.m. now, and I am ready to kick back and relax after I get one last thing done for the day. But I, again, was reading family lore, so I thought I'd update you guys on this because I did get to the halfway mark of the book. I'm on page 184 in the Pastora interview transcript translation, and this book is interesting. I am not hating it, but I'm not loving it either. I am feeling like 3-star vibes here, which is unfortunate to say. We'll see if it turns around tomorrow when I do finish it, because I have got 3 hours left of the audio, a little bit over that, and we'll see how I feel then. But if you are not aware of the synopsis of this book, I did talk about this in my last vlog, but basically family lore explores a Dominican family that currently resides in New York City, and we see them through a multi-generational scope through the lens of the women in the family, who all possess different abilities in their own right. And we bounce back and forth in timelines and points of views, not only amongst the women in the family, but also back when they lived in Santo Domingo, República Dominicana, before they migrated to New York. Present time in New York City is when Flor, one of the main sisters in the book, who has the ability to predict people's deaths through her dreams, announces to her family that she is hosting a living wake for herself. And people are not aware of whether or not she's hosting this wake because she has seen herself die, because she has dreamt something, or if it's just for the sake of it. And the book is tonally very interesting because I feel like it kind of bounces all over the place in between exploring all of these different women's separate lives, which I am quite enjoying. I'm really enjoying learning about each individual person, their abilities, how they manifested in the first place. And for those who maybe don't have abilities, then exactly what makes them special in their own right, because not having magic doesn't mean that they're not special. That slice of life is lovely. It's amazing. I am obsessed with it. And then we get into these sort of out of place, albeit interesting, historical facts that are kind of thrown in the book for the sake of informing the reader of perhaps a culture they are not necessarily familiar with, and with a country whose history they may not be, again, as familiar with. And so while it is very interesting, I feel like it kind of battles out the often silly tone that the book has. Like, I'm not even joking when I say that one of these characters, one of the daughters, literally has a magical coochie. Like, her ability is to literally affect other people's coochies depending on how hers feels, and to satisfy herself and her partners sexually, and just like doing all the things. And so part of the book doesn't take itself too seriously, although it does discuss these intricate conversations surrounding sexuality and one's confidence in their own bodies, and how as Latin women in particular, and this is perhaps a more wider conversation, but as Latin women, we kind of learn about our bodies in secret. We kind of learn about our bodies in the shadows, as Elizabeth Acevedo says in this book. And there is not a lot that is taught to us by our mothers sometimes or by family members, but through friends and other people in our life who may not necessarily identify as blood related. And so there's a huge emphasis into that conversation surrounding femininity, maternity, motherhood, and being comfortable in one's body regardless of what it looks like or your trajectory with it. And so I quite love all of those conversations, but I feel like, again, some things are kind of misplaced in the book, and there seems to be like 3 very different tones inside the novel. It jumps from magical coochie to then talking about Santeria like out of nowhere, which I mean, it does have a place in the book, but the jump from one thing to another is so abrupt, it doesn't ease you really into it. Feels kind of disjointed sometimes, and also sometimes it's hard to tell whether we are in present time or if we are in flashbacks just because of the way that some things are phrased. And so I find that structurally the book is a little bit all over the place. That's just kind of where the book is at. Like, it's interesting, I'm having a good time. I just don't know that it'll become like my favorite Acevedo. I have to figure out what I'm going to film tomorrow for Sunday's video, because I was debating putting this video up as Sunday's video, and then I went, Mel, don't do that. You're really enjoying vlogging right now. It wouldn't really make sense to cut this video short for the sake of putting it up. And so I'm trying to figure out what could go up on Sunday and instead. I need to kind of sit down and brainstorm a bit to come up with an answer. So I want to do that before I go to bed because I really want to figure it out. So let's go do that together, and then we'll go to bed because I don't know that I'm going to read anything else before then, because I just read for 4 hours and my eyes, you see them? I don't know if you can tell, but my eyes are just over it. Also, lest I forget to mention that tomorrow is Friday, which means it's Friday, October 13th. The Taylor Swift movie comes out tomorrow, and I am going to go watch that with Carissa tomorrow, which is exciting. I need to take my magnesium for the night, refill Stanley. But yes, very exciting stuff. We're gonna go watch the Taylor Swift movie. I think we're going for like drinks and food after. And then tomorrow I also have sprints in the morning, and I have the gym in the morning as well. And filming potentially in the morning as well. So tomorrow is going to be a very busy day. I don't know that I'm going to be reading anything other than family lore, but hopefully I can read a little bit of more because I really want to finish that this weekend. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully that is the case. I just don't know that tomorrow it will happen, but let's refill this. Let's take a little vitamin for the night. Let's do all the things. Let's get ready for bed. You are quite literally going to see the light change really quickly. There we go. But hello friends, good morning. I just got done filming Sunday's video, and I ended up filming a nice little 6 books I want to read before the year ends. And just let me show you real quick. The books are right here, which is fun. And honestly, I think I've got like a nice little realistic array of books that I want to read before the year ends. I'm quite excited about all of them, and I do hope to get to them. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind as I make future TBRs for November and December. So video is done, which is great. And now we get ready for the gym because I need to go up in like 30 minutes or so, and also need to schedule sprints that are happening at 11 a.m. So I just want to make sure that those are going up, like the link for it is going up as I am at the gym. So let us do that, and then we'll go on about the day. But just wanted to say good morning. Friends, so I did finish, please hold, I did finish family lore, but I'm also matching the book right now, kind of hot, but I finished family lore. I'll update you once I come back, but we're literally about to run to go watch Miss Swiftie because her movie comes out today. And so I'm dressed kind of in spirit as I could be. We got a little cardigan. We've got my typical pants. Carissa just creepily in the background. Do you want to show them your Reputation outfit? So Carissa's repping Reputation.
Best era.
And
Favorite era.
I disagree with that, but that's also coming from a non-Swiftie, so don't listen to me. But I'm giving her my money. Let's go. Good morning, friends. Today is Sunday, and I did not update you after we came back from watching the Taylor Swift movie, and I didn't update you yesterday, but I did finish Family Lore, which is like the very first order of business. Also, have my Starbies here. It's Sunday. I'm about to start sprinting in half an hour, so I want to have a quick little brekkie before I start sprint, but I finished Family Lore, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Dare I say I could even go up to like a 4.5. Thankfully, those really weird interjections of history lessons were not a constant throughout the book, nor were they a constant towards the last bit that I had left, which was nice. And so the continuity kind of got a bit better because the few interjections we did get took me very much out of the story. And I love that the book has this open ending as a way to juxtapose and contrast life versus death, and how oftentimes we look at death as tragedy, but oftentimes it can bring in blessings. And obviously it depends culture to culture and what significance death and kind of birth have to the cultural aspects of it. But I think the way that Acevedo kind of wrapped up the book on that note was absolutely beautiful. And all in all, the book was just a huge celebration of Latinidad and everything that comprises our culture as a big blanket that, although things vary per country to country in Latin America, it is one of those things that we share obviously so many similarities and so many superstitions and so many key cultural elements that kind of bind us as one. And so love the fact that each of the abilities that each of the sisters have, it's not really magic because the book is magical realism, but it doesn't have this like specific set of rules that bind it to anything because it's playing off of things that are important to us culturally, right? You have got Flor, who dreams of death, which is really just a play on the superstition of dreams that is huge for us. Like, again, I'll literally text my grandma or I'll share something about like a dream. My uncle literally did that this morning in the family group chat where he was like, hey, I dreamt of you and your mom, so I'm literally buying lottery tickets with you guys' number on them. And so that's a huge part of it, but the play in that is obviously that she sees death. And there's this very big moment in her backstory where she announces one of her premonitions when she's a kid to her parents, and their first instinct was to call on a priest to bless the house, to bless Flor, to exorcise whatever demon was like inside her. And that was literally an experience I had as a kid, and an experience I know Carissa, who's one of my best friends, also had as a kid, where I would dream things. I would tell my parents, and they literally brought a priest to the house so they could bless the house, they could bless me, and they could like exorcise whatever like demonic evil entity was like residing in there because I was having like these really weird dreams. And so that's a huge thing, just again culturally, that happens. Then you've got one of the daughters, nieces, Yari, who's really good with food, and we have a saying that our food speaks, our food has stories. Our food is one of the biggest things that unite us, and there's nothing better than a plate of food made by your grandmother, made by your mom, made by somebody who loves you. Like, the love poured into the food speaks. And then you've got Ona, which to me personally was my favorite POV because it speaks a lot about femininity and sexuality and coming to your own body and being wholly comfortable in it. But there's this huge element of a lot of the time women within Latin culture have to learn about their bodies in secret and hiding in the shadows because some mothers didn't teach their daughters about sex education or about how to navigate their own bodies in a way that they can own up to all that they are. And there are in a lot of households a lot of shame towards masturbation and a lot of shame towards intercourse in general, and the fact that Ona's POV talks so very closely and intimately about that, where a lot of the time it's not talked about, you know, not even because the parents parent could be religious, which is a huge thing in our culture, but it could also just mean that they weren't taught. And so the conversation about that makes them uncomfortable, and how despite that, we continuously have other women to rely on and other women to look to and forward to, so that we can learn these things and kind of talk about these things that perhaps with our mothers, the conversation might be a bit more difficult. And so sisterhood, womanhood, motherhood is at the core of the book. And it was just so freaking beautiful that the more the book went along, the more I fell in love with it. And so I just absolutely love it. Nothing really happens in the book. It's like very slice of life. Like Elizabeth Acevedo grabs slice of life and she maximizes that to the best of her ability, because again, nothing happens in the book up until the very end, and the outcome of the book is not, I think, anything surprising, because like you kind of do expect it to happen for the majority of it, or at least I did. But it's one of those books that just focuses on highlighting, maybe not in a very overt way, but really highlighting all of these beautiful pieces within our culture, which again, some of them might be cross-cultural things, but it was such a beautiful celebration of the culture that I know and that I grew up with, that I just absolutely loved it. And even though nothing happened, I think inadvertently, the more you read, the more you fall in love with these characters, because really all you read or all you're listening to are their stories and their backgrounds and how they're all connected and how they conflict with each other, but how they're continuously there for each other, and how, you know, women have to carry the emotional burden of other women sometimes, but we don't do it out of like duty necessarily, though that may play a part in it, but we do it because we love each other and we know that if we don't do it, then like nobody else will, and we don't mind doing that. And it was just lovely. It was a great time. So I finished that. Then we went to the Taylor Swift concert movie, which, let me tell you, that was an experience. People made a mosh pit, which I was not expecting. I'd had seen TikToks of people doing that in the States. I just wasn't expecting that to happen here in Panama, but people literally treated that as a concert, and it was so funny, but like such a good experience. So people made a mosh pit. The movie did lose sound twice, 3 times actually, and it was just a whole thing. And so the experience wasn't as seamless as it could have been, but at least it was fun. It threw me back to like my Swiftie days, back when I did used to listen to Miss Taylor, and I belted to some of the songs, some others I just didn't know, so I just sat there like a fake fan, and that's okay. And it was a good experience overall to go with my brother and Carissa. And then yesterday I just had like a very lazy day. My mom and my brother don't have gas over at their building because there was a gas leak, and so they kind of shut down the gas in the entire building so that they could do a bunch of like tests and stuff, just to make sure that they know where the gas leak was coming from, and so that they could fix it and just see what other like improvements they could make to like the gas line and stuff. And so they came over yesterday. I also hosted the live show for Family Lore yesterday, but they came over yesterday. My mom had breakfast over here. We ordered lunch, and the lunch was like awful. Like the food was good, but something in there fucked my stomach up, because I was literally in bed for the rest of the day because my stomach just hurt so bad. I was so nauseous. And so that was kind of like the rest of my day. Vin is also going at it behind you guys, just like scratching. So I was really out of commission for the rest of the day. And now we get to eat brekkie. And I have no idea what I'm gonna be doing during sprints, because I focused for the rest of like the week kind of on reading Family Lore and also filming and editing and live streaming and like just doing the things I had to do. And so now I don't know if I'm gonna be reading Mort. I don't know if I'm going to be doing Preptober. I'm gonna be reading Carissa's manuscript, maybe a little bit of everything. We'll see where the day takes us. I'll keep you guys updated, but that's just kind of like the first little update of the day. Just a nice chai latte and then a bacon gouda roll. And I'm about to sit down and have brekkie while I watch something. I don't know what that something's going to be, but I've got 15 minutes to eat brekkie. Let's go. This is how you know it's my channel, you guys, because tell me why. I just read 50 pages of Mort, and I'm literally 150 pages away from finishing this, which is great, and I will finish it tomorrow, maybe later today, but as I've been sprinting, I came to the very sudden realization that I am going to pick up Words of Radiance for the third time. And like we say in Spanish, la tercera es la vencida, compa. So let's hope I actually finish it this time, because I can't imagine the saying not being true. I would disappoint my people if I picked this up again and didn't finish it the third time around. So, let's get into it. I'm gonna start Words of Radiance. I think I'm gonna just restart it right from the beginning, and let's hope that I don't get stuck this time around. Love Mort the most. We were making like some really good progress with this, but then my brain, the ADHD brain right now is ADHDing, and so let's get it started. Okay friends, so things have happened. It is currently 4:03 on a regular Sunday and my mother and my brother called me, so I'm going to head on over to theirs and I'm going to take Words of Radiance with me. They want to watch like a movie and have some food, and so I'm going over there, but I don't want to stop reading, and I also want to catch up to where I was last time because I'm on page 80. I'm on page 88 at the moment. Last time around I made it to page 110, and the time before that I made it to page 289. So last time I did worse than the first time I picked this book up. So I at least want to get to page like 150 today if I can, so that I can say I'm like 15% through the book just on a first sitting, because it definitely has the ability to do that. Like, these books are compulsively readable to me, and although they are, you know, intimidating and they're long, and this is like Sanderson's main series and his main project, it is so very accessible and so very compelling because it's unlike anything I have ever read. It talks about religion in a very interesting way that I quite enjoy, because he does that across all of his adult books, and so it's quite nice always to kind of re-immerse myself into that side of the narrative. And then obviously Kaladin, who is one of the main POVs characters that we get in the Stormlight Archive, has such amazing character growth, and in particular in this one, after being very sort of self-destructive and deprecating and just very espresso depresso in the first one, he's still very much espresso depresso because Kaladin's just a sad boy, but he displays so much growth between the first and the second book, where we now see him stepping up as a leader, albeit very reluctantly, but the way that he cares so much for the people in Bridge 4, which if you don't know what Way of Kings is about, or the Stormlight Archive in general, we basically have a world where people, very special individuals, are able to use artifacts that enhance their abilities, so shard blades and shard plates, which basically conjure up some sort of like otherworldly magic so that they can aid in times of war, and they can kind of swing things to their corner. But they are artifacts that have such immense power that not only is it dangerous if it falls onto the wrong hands, but also there's people who don't believe that it's like very natural to use that in this world. And in particular, the Way of Kings starts with 3 major POVs. Kaladin, who is a bridgesman, who are basically people that are in teams carrying bridges over a variety of different chasms to allow the army to plow through the war. Then we have got Dalinar, who is the king's brother, who keeps dreaming of a text called The Way of Kings, but he can't quite figure out yet why exactly he is dreaming of said text and why he is having the visions that he is having. And then we have got Shallan, who is a scholar, who on her side, more than the war aspect of it, we more so see that scholarly discovery of a lot of information that has potentially gotten lost throughout the years. And so each POV is so distinct because they provide very different things to the story. Whereas Shallan's is very informational, Kaladin is very much exposing you to the horror of what happens in the battlefield, and then Dalinar's exposes you to something that is more political and more so abstract, because again, the visions that he is having, he doesn't understand, the people around him don't understand, and we don't understand, but we are getting them anyways. And so Kaladin, being somebody who is in the battlefield constantly, we see such amazing growth where he again starts stepping up as a leader, and where he is sort of faced time and time again with having to make the very conscious decision of helping others that were in the same situation he was or is still in, because he doesn't want the same fate for them as he ended up in. And so seeing that sort of like acceptance through time is very beautiful, but also seeing that struggle in him is so heartbreaking because he feels like he doesn't amount to much because he has been made to feel that way, despite the fact that Kaladin is so selfless and so incredible in the series. And so I am absolutely loving, you know, seeing him in the role he is at in the second book and the trust placed on him by other people because it makes him feel or makes him out to be more important, and it really is the role he should have, honestly, just based on his ability alone. And so I am loving all of the Kaladin tidbits as always. He is my favorite character alongside Navani and also Adolin. I do have to admit I love him a lot, so I think that's like my trifecta. And then if we're talking about more like ambiguous characters that are not necessarily human, I love Syl. That's why I named my cat Syl. It's based on the Stormlight archive, and so seeing the progress of everything in this book is quite nice, and I hope that we continue to get more answers as we go. There are so many question marks up in the air so far, and so I'm taking this with me again because I want to make more progress. The Shallan chapters are not my favorite, I have to admit. Like, they're so information heavy that I don't particularly gravitate towards that, and also with her figuring out Shadesmar, like, it's just, to me, it's just a little bit boring, but it's because Shallan as a character is not somebody that I necessarily adore, and so I'm quite looking forward to like chapters that are not hers. So that's just kind of where we are at, and I can't wait for more interludes. I love the interludes in the Stormlight archive, they're so good. And so there's that. Yes, I'm going to pack up my bag and then skedaddle over to my mom's. My brother said he wanted to watch Detachment. I don't know what that is. He always brings up like the most random movies. I don't know how he hears of these movies, but Detachment, and so I think we're gonna end up watching that. I hope it's good. He's never led me astray, so I hope that it's good. If not, I have a book with me and we'll go from there, friends. I also ordered food because my mom doesn't have any gas at the moment, like I was mentioning earlier, and so she's cooking on an electric stove, which is going at the pace of a snail. Don't want to deal with that because when I used to live with them, I'm also going to put my socks on as we talk, but when I used to live with them, they redid the whole gas line in the entire building, and so I think we were without gas for like 4 months, I think, and so we had to use that stove, and I know which one she speaks of, and it cooks food terribly. It's not the same, respectfully. I don't want to subject myself to that. And so I have ordered food. I ordered one of my favorite bowls from one of my favorite restaurants, and so it's a little rice bowl with like chicken and plantain and avocado, carrots, tomatoes, just got a little bit of everything. It's got all of our like national flavorings, which is great, and so I know it's gonna be great. And then I ordered a side of guac to have with that because we deserve the nice things in life. And so I'm going to grab everything. I'm also going to take my AirPods just in case, because you never know. And there's that. And I also need to give the cats food and leave them kind of like all set and ready because I don't know what time I'll come back, because I'll likely come back at like 8 p.m. to be quite honest, especially if we're watching a movie. There's that. Love y'all the most. I'll catch you on the flip side, friends. Why I was about to say good morning. It is not morning time, friends. It's literally a Monday at 6:37. You can't even see that. That's like the bane of my existence. My brightness is always too high, but 6:37 p.m. and I'm about to make myself a coffee. So Mondays typically are somewhat of a day off for me just because Sundays are quite heavy with sprinting, and then some Saturdays I also have live shows. Same with Fridays. And last week was a live show intensive one for me, so I decided to take today off and just get some rest. And when I tell you guys, I have been consistently in and out of sleep today. It's wild, please hold. And so I've been in and out of sleep, and when I have been awake, I watched Chef. First of all, I've already watched the movie before, but it's just like one of those feel-good comfort movies for me, and so I watched that as I was having lunch. And in other instances where I've been awake, I've been reading Words of Radiance, because yesterday I didn't read anything while I was over at my mom's, which is why I was like, I want to read today because I didn't get to read much while I was over there. In fact, conversations took a very exhausting turn while I was over there, and we just had like a lot of existential conversations. It was quite a lot. And so when I came back home, I was just absolutely exhausted, and I think that exhaustion alongside everything else from last week just kind of carried on to today. And so that was kind of the result of it, and this is where we're at 6:30, kind of finally ready to do something. Which, I mean, the rest of the day was very productive just in terms of like self-care and just like taking it slow. I just took another shower, did my skincare, which is why the skin looks like moist and just like shiny. And now coffee, because I've been wanting like my weekly coffee and I didn't get one last week because I was flaring up, but today is a good day. So I'm going to cheat a bit and I'm going to have a little coffee. And I have gotten questions in the past of like, Mel, how do you make your coffee? So I'm gonna show you guys what I do, like what I use. It's like very plain and simple, but at this point it is the only coffee I drink. Like, you will not catch me going out and having a coffee outside of my home because it's just the best coffee I've tasted as of recent, and this has been my routine for the past few months. Very first thing I use is honey, and I just kind of use a dollop of this as like my sweetener. So I don't use any of like the syrups, I don't use any like sugar. It's just, you know, plain honey, something like more natural, I guess. And I just use a little bit of that. You can see that like at the bottom of the cup right there. And I use a shot of espresso. I used to do 2 shots, but ever since I was diagnosed with my temporomandibular disorder and my bruxism, I've had to obviously lower my caffeine intake. And so with that comes the unfortunate reality of not having like the same dose of espresso as I typically would, because I do like my coffee strong. And so I just use a single shot of espresso, and I use my Dolce Gusto machine. So if you have like your French press, if you've got your Dolce Gusto, if you got your Nespresso machine, if you've got a proper espresso maker, whatever you have that works, just use that. But just a shot, just a regular shot. And then I do make my coffee in like a reused Starbucks cup because I don't throw them away. I literally have like my little stack. It's just like all here, and I have more at the back, but all of like my Starbucks like plastic cups, I just try and keep them instead of like throwing them away when I do order Starbucks like delivery. Also, it's like great to like actually measure how much milk and like everything to have in, so it's actually quite good. But let's start brewing the coffee and then grab the milks I use. Milks are here, coffee is ready, and I'm ready for my coffee. Okay, so first things first, I switched to oat milk actually a few months ago, and I love the taste of coffee with oat milk. It just tastes so different, and I used to experience like the crash after drinking coffee. Like, I used to drink my coffee with either regular milk or lactose-free milk. It really like didn't matter a whole lot to me because I don't like almond milk in my coffee. I feel like that thins it out too much, and so I need something that's just a bit creamier. And so I switched to oat milk to see if that maybe helped the crash after, because I knew it was more likely than not related to the amount of sugar that I was consuming between, you know, like the sugars, the syrups, the regular milks and like whatnot. And so I switched to oat milk and I used the Califia Farms extra creamy oat milk. And I know this is different from the one that like comes in a carton. And so I get this one and it is so good. I find that it doesn't alter the taste of the coffee too much, so it doesn't make it too sweet because it's a more neutral tasting milk, which I absolutely love. And again, it's very creamy. And on top of that, no crashes afterwards, none at all. So for the milk, I just go until the 3rd line in the Starbucks cup, which is why I love this, because it again helps me measure out everything just a tiny bit better. And then with the espresso, it's just like fresh out. You can see it right there. I just give it a good little mix just to make sure that, you know, the espresso and the honey are like nicely mixed in together. And once I don't see like any remaining honey at the bottom, just throw it in and the coffee is in, and it's just, it's gonna taste so good. Okay, ice is going in to the covfefe. And then the very last thing I add to the coffee is creamer. I tried the Chobani vanilla one, and let me say something real quick. All of the other ones suck ass, because I've tried the non-dairy ones and I really don't like the flavor of them. I have tried the sweet cream one and like the hazelnut one and like other ones they have got available, but nothing beats the vanilla one. Oh, the cats are playing with some ice I gave them. So if you hear that, it's just the cats playing with ice. But this is just so good. There's just something so delicious about how simple this is. And so I just do a little bit of that, and then I either froth it by hand or I use my little frothing machine that Liv actually gifted me. Shout out to Liv. And so I use either or. Today I'm gonna do it by hand because I don't have the patience to like plug everything in, like do the entire thing. And then we're just going to add a little bit of like cold foam at the top, and it's going to add a little bit extra sweetness. If you like your coffee just a little bit more sweet, but not overly sweet, this does add a little bit to it that the honey doesn't quite sweeten, you know? And so it's very good. And that's really all I do. It's super simple, but it's so good. Like I promise you, this is the coffee routine. Then we just add the creamer. Oh, just look at that. And it gives an even creamier texture, which is so good. And again, that tinge of like sweetness that it adds is just absolutely phenomenal. And then we have got our little coffee and it's amazing. It's so good. Also for a reading update, just so you guys know, Words of Radiance, I did get to page 115. So I'm about to start chapter 7. And let me tell you, that is further than last time. That is indeed further than last time, which I'm very proud of. And I'm going to read Words of Radiance and we'll see kind of like where the night ends. I said earlier, I don't love Shallan chapters, and I do kind of still stand by that, but I think I'm starting to appreciate it a bit more because since her POV is very scholarly, very like discovery heavy, especially for knowledge, information, and just like tidbits of history that has been lost or that people haven't been paying much attention to, it is very nice for that bout of exposure for things that other people don't know, especially in regards to the Knights Radiant, which in this world used to help very, very closely in battle. And these were people that were able to bond with Sprens, which is a form of like an otherworldly spirit or god, I guess we can say. And that in and of itself like enhances their ability, and that kind of dictates exactly which ability they're able to display, but they do have powers. And so it is incredible for that reason, but it's just Kaladin's chapters are just like that girl. And so I am really, really enjoying this. I think I'm enjoying this more this time around than I did any of the other 2 times I read it. And so if I keep at it and I consistently just like, you know, chip away at it, then we'll definitely be able to make some progress. And if I could get to page 200 tonight at the very least, I think that would be lovely so that we can kind of keep up that 100-page a day thing. I'll definitely have this done by the end of the month. Friends, I don't know how I did it, but I got to page 246 tonight. So I am like almost nearly past what I read the very first time I picked up this book. And we're going. Like, I cannot believe this was the progress in like the past 24 hours. Like, it's quite good. Almost 30% of this book done in that period of time is a fucking win. And so I'm quite happy with the progress with Words of Radiance. And I just know this is going to get progressively better, progressively crazier, and then progressively more revealing, which is honestly the thing I'm looking forward to because there are so many question marks up in the air, specifically with what's happening with all of these potential Knights Radiant coming back up and what purpose that serves aside from aiding in the war that they are currently fighting because of the death of King Gavilar. That's not a spoiler, by the way. That's literally the catalyst for the entire series. And so aside from that war being fought, I'm curious to see what other purpose the Knight Radiant are going to serve because they're like a higher military organization order. And it is said that in ancient times when they went sort of extinct, they went extinct because they changed. And there was such a big switch up in the dynamic of the Knights Radiant that brought forth their end. And so I'm curious to learn more about that and see how that's going to show up in like present time. I think it's super fascinating. And honestly, being back with Kaladin and Syl brings me so much joy. I genuinely forgot how much I loved them. That is one of the Sprens that we see most closely in this series, or at least so far. And they just had an interaction that just made my heart go pitter patter because they're so wholesome. I love them. It's Syl going, why not? I am a god. And then Kaladin goes, Syl, what? I am a little piece of one. Very, very little. You have permission to bow to me now. And she is just so hilarious. It's like she loves being revered. She loves being acknowledged as somebody that, you know, has weight, that has importance. And I love her for it. Like, she really is the main character in her own story. And I cannot help but love every single second of that. And I can't wait to see more of Adolin because obviously I have very limited knowledge of Adolin so far, and I've only seen very little of him in this book because I never finished it, but I'm quite excited to see his development and how potentially his relationship with Kaladin evolves, because Kaladin's big thing throughout the series, perhaps, or at least these first 2 books, is that he is very resentful of Light Eyes or of Bright Lords in general. Like anybody that claims to be of nobility or of higher rank than Kaladin, he is very resentful because of his past with them, and because Adolin is one of them. He has this very bitey, very sarcastic, very, again, resentful dynamic with him because of who he is and what he represents. And so I can't wait to see how that develops the more we go on. So we'll see what happens with that, because I am hoping to see some development. And I'm also hoping to see more of Shallan and Pattern, because I really do enjoy their dynamic together as well. It really reminds me of when we see Kaladin and Syl for the first time in those interactions, but Pattern seems to be a lot less sentient than Syl at the moment, and I wonder how much that is going to change over time as well. And I also really want to see more of Eshonai. We've really only seen her in the interlude, but she's bringing so much insight into how the Parshendi work and what the difference is actually between the way that they are perceived, the lack of information that people have on them, versus what they actually are, who they actually are, how they operate. And it's honestly so fascinating to read about how they're so in tune with like sound and music and melodies, and how that's such a big part of their culture. So I'm really enjoying that exposition as well, because it's not really information we've been handed before as readers in the series yet. And so that bout was super, super cool. If you've read Way of Kings, then you know at least the first book, the ending for that is like super explosive, and that drove me absolutely nuts. And I actually need to know if who he is seeing in his visions and the person that is communicating with him is actually who he thinks it is, or if it's like something or someone else, because I need answers on that end, because that still is a question I have. And so I'm quite curious to see how that's going to develop as well as time goes on. But there's that. That's like the update I have got right now with Words of Radiance, but you know, at least progress is being made. The book is being read more so than in other times, and I can't wait to see how it continues to go. But I did read 10 chapters today. I don't know if the interludes count as chapters. Listen, that's really good. That's really good, friends. Good morning, friends, and welcome to the very last day of the vlog. Today's Tuesday, which means that today we wrap up the vlog, but later today, because right now we are about to go to our historical district here in Panama, and I thought I'd take you guys with me, which is quite exciting. I am performing a bit of research for the novel I'm writing, because there's nothing like going in person, talking to locals, going to museums, instead of looking for information online, especially because all of these resources are readily available to me. And so we are going to Casco Antiguo, or Casco Viejo alternatively, and a little bit of context as to why this is one of the main settings for the novel, but also as to why this is such an important district here in Panama, is that when the Spanish colonized Panama and they built the first ever city, that city was burnt a few years later by, there's 2 theories, which is like inconclusive. One of the theories says that a British Welsh privateer by the name of Henry Morgan burnt it down in search of gold and a gold altar. And then the other theory, or historical context, is that the Spanish themselves, one of the captains ordered his soldiers to burn everything to the ground in order to protect the citizens and the national riches. And so after the city was burnt down, they relocated, and the Spanish crown approved of a new city being built 10 kilometers southeast. And so that is what we now know as like our historical district. And there are a bunch of like old buildings there, museums, historical landmarks, and just a bunch of cool stuff, and also really great food, really great restaurants. And so I want to go over there today, take some pictures for you guys with me, record some stuff, and just make sure that I am soaking it all up. So that is going to take a big chunk of the day, but I'm quite excited to go because I haven't been in a hot minute. Generally think that the very last time I went there, aside from Fashion Week a few weeks ago, which was really like a quick in and out kind of thing, it really was before the panini. So it's been a few years, and so I really want to reacquaint myself with the area. And so we're going over there, take you guys with me, just thought I'd give you this little bit of a preface, this little bit of an update, and let's go. It's gonna be quite exciting. Also, I think it's pretty cool because I know a lot of you guys don't really know a lot about like Panama or like where I'm from, and so I think it's a nice little bout of like exposure. There's also a lot of people that simply don't know where I'm from. I've heard that I'm from Canada, I've heard that I'm from Texas, that I'm from Miami, that I'm from like other places in the world, and so I'm Panamanian. I live in Panama, born and raised here, have never left, have never lived anywhere else, and so I'm just gonna show you a little bit of the country, which I think is gonna be quite cool as well. Friends, I am back home. Today was a long day of doing a lot of historical touristy stuff, and I'm officially back home and I am very, very tired. And this is, while we're at it, the end of this weekly vlog. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. This is like the first time in a while that I've been able to actually get a weekly vlog out of like my week, and so I feel like it was well-rounded. Had a little bit of writing, a little bit of editing, filming, a little bit of reading, and just like a bunch of everything. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. It's like a nice little look into what my week looks like, and that it was like a fun little watch. So if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you reach the very end of the video, let us leave like a writing emoji, whether it's like the hand with like the pen or anything writing related. Let's leave that down in the comments if you reach the very end. Let a girl know if you've read any of the books I mentioned in this video, what you're currently reading, what have you guys been up to, how are you guys feeling in general? Like, October's almost over, so how's everyone doing? Just doing like a nice little check-in. And yeah, if you want to support the channel further, Patreon is always linked down below in case you guys want like a book club, live shows, and just like a bunch of other extras that I don't really post anywhere else. That is always linked down below alongside all of my socials. I love you all so, so much, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.
Bye!